Greetings, loyal Pontolians, and welcome back to the third installment of the Welcome to Haven tutorial series. Character stats, action skills, and profession skills. In keeping with the spirit of this series, I'm going to assume that you're here because you're both new to the game and still not clear on how the skills and attribute system works in Mortal Online 2. If you find this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's dive right in. If you click C at any time, this will open your character panel. The character panel has 4 tabs along the top: Character, Statistics, Titles, and Clade Gifts. The only one we won't be talking about in this video is the Titles tab. For this video, we will go from left to right. First, the Character tab. On the left side of the tab is a picture of your character, along with 9 gear slots, 2 weapon slots, a quiver slot for arrows, and a book slot. All of the slots have a background image that shows what items can go there. On the left, top to bottom, is helmet, chest piece, right arm, left arm, legs, cape, and quiver. On the right is the right ring slot, left ring slot, neck slot, right hand, left hand, and book slot. Some things to note about these slots: shields will always go in the left hand slot, and weapons will always go in the right hand slot. Two-handed weapons like bows, spears, two-handed maces, hammers, and axes will not fill both slots when using both hands, so don't panic if this is the case. You are using it two-handed. The quiver slot holds 25 arrows at a time. The book slot is used for learning new action and profession skills, which we will discuss later. If you're currently reading a book, you can right-click to remove it from this slot, but be warned, doing so destroys the book and you'll have to buy another if you want to level it further with reading. Moving to the right side of the character panel, any stat where you see a number / a number, that represents current level / max potential level. The first 3 stats can also be found in the top left-hand corner of the screen and are your health, stamina, and mana. Health is pretty standard across games, and when you run out of it, you die. Stamina is consumed with a variety of actions like running, jumping, attacking, and blocking, and will regen slowly while moving or much faster while sitting still. Mana is consumed when casting and preparing spells. It regens slowly and is most often regained by resting, potions, or food and drinks. Below these 3 are primary attributes. Your maximum attributes are determined by many factors, including height, weight, race, and age. These are things that are changed in character creation. Assuming you just started, if this is something you want to change, this would be your chance to delete your character and start a new one with better stat potentials. This guide won't go into what stats are best for what builds, but overall, melee and archer builds prefer high strength with the highest achievable around 121 and 123, and mage builds having high psyche and intelligence. Each attribute gives you multiple bonuses. Strength affects your ability to use heavy weapons that have high strength requirements on the gear, including bows. It gives you bonus damage to physical attacks, both ranged and melee, increases total stamina slightly, increases carry weight slightly, increases allowed armor weight before penalty, which effectively increases how heavy your armor can be, while also visually affecting how your character looks. This stat will make you pretty buff. Dexterity affects your movement speed, which is very valuable as there are very limited modes of travel. Moderately increases your stamina total, slightly increases your jump height, increases the chance that your attacks will land a weak spot hit. In basic terms, a strike that ignores some armor value as well as your mounted agility, which again is valuable for traveling. Constitution is your best way to increase your baseline health total. It also gives a slight increase to stamina totals, increases your weight similar to strength, and also increases your armor weight allowance. Psyche is your passive way of reducing incoming damage from magic. This can be very useful if you plan to be someone who targets mages or expects to be in magic-based fighting often. It also increases your mana pool and regeneration, allowing for more magical abilities. Intelligence affects your mana pool's size and regeneration, while also increasing the damage and effectiveness of magical abilities. Intelligence also increases your character's reading speed for skill books, reducing the total time taken to learn new skills from books. Intelligence can be good to get some points in early and then dump them out later on. You're probably thinking, wait, dump them later on? How could I do that? Well, this is where a pretty unique system is brought to light inside Mortal Online 2. You may have noticed to the right of all the attributes, there are 5 red boxes with plus signs in them. These buttons control how your attribute point pool is distributed. You can see that pool just below your attributes. For example, If you look at my attribute points pool, it is currently sitting at 0. I have no remaining attribute points to allocate. If I want to increase my character's psyche to be better at defending against magical attacks, I can move some points out of dexterity by clicking the red box until the minus sign is shown. I can then lock everything except psyche, which needs to have a plus sign, and as my actions earn me experience, attribute points will be removed from dex and put into psyche until I tell it to stop. With this unique system, you are given a great amount of flexibility and forgiveness when allocating points, and can really fine-tune your character to be the best fit for the role you decide to play in Mortal Online 2. Not to be forgotten here is the size attribute. This is something you set in character creation, but it can be changed by consuming particular foods while you have attribute points available, or set to be taken from one of the other attributes. Size affects things like height, weight, health, and melee damage bonuses. For the bottom portion, you have some pretty straightforward stats. Melee damage bonuses shows the percent increase to your melee damage that all stats give you. Weight is an ever-present item, as eating too much food or too little food will see you change your weight category, which ranges from skeletal to obese, with a total of 11 different weight categories, all of which affect one stat or another, to the exception of fit, that has no positive or negative effects and is the default middle weight. Height is determined by the above size attribute. Age, which is selected in character creation, determines the potential total for your attributes. For example, maximum strength age is 30 years old, with maximum intelligence age being 60 and maximum psyche age being 81. Moving to the second tab, Statistics, we will start on the top left. Here you will find health, mana, and stamina reserves, and another current level / max potential number setup. These three stats are directly affected by and also directly affect your health, mana, and stamina on the character page. Every time you take damage, use stamina, or use mana, the same amount that you used is taken from your reserve level. Over time, your reserves will decrease and eventually lead to exhaustion. Exhaustion will cause part of the corresponding bar on the top left of your screen to turn gray, which limits your total of that resource. When you have exhaustion or low health, stamina, or mana, you can press L to open the skills panel. If the icons are not shown on the right half of the skills panel, click Show All Skill Icons at the top of the list, then right-click the resting icon. You can also drag that icon to the hotbar on the right side of the screen for quick access. Balancing your reserves is important. This will take some time to learn, and the best thing you can do is rest and consume food and water to learn how best to balance these resources. When consuming food and drink to increase your reserves, be careful, as eating too much food will cause you to gain weight and potentially change your stats in a way you don't want. Next is thirst and hunger. Thirst at this time is only affected when drinking potions. Hunger is affected by both food and drinks, and will go to 0 when full and 1800 when starving. I usually wait till my hunger is around 600 to 800 before eating or drinking. If you don't want to gain weight, but need to eat, drink some water from a well or lake, as it gives you no calories. The next two options down are max speed and max jump. Both are measured in centimeters per second. Armor weight shows how much weight you currently have on in armor versus how much armor you can wear before your maximum speed is affected. Highlighting the number will also show when your mana regeneration will be affected by your armor weight. Carry weight shows your current total weight, including inventory, as well as at what point your max speed, stamina regeneration, and jump height will be affected. If you mouse over the number, it will also show your maximum weight allowed before you can no longer move at all. Body heat and world heat show your current body heat rating versus the world heat rating. If your body temp gets too high or too low, your stamina regeneration will be affected, as well as on the extreme ends, damage can be taken from exposure to extreme heat and cold. On the right-hand side of the stat screen, you have your reputations with the various NPC factions that you won't be able to affect until you leave Haven, so I won't go into that here, as well as the murder count. Skipping past the Titles tab, we come to the Clade Gifts tab. This tab is different for every race, and is one of the many things I would recommend looking up online based on what you want to do in the game. At the bottom of the screen is an experience bar. Clade experience are gained from killing certain types of NPC enemies that give varying amounts of experience, and each level lets you unlock one clade for a total of 20 clades. At this time, clades cannot be changed after they are selected so make sure you are selecting the right ones, though as far as I'm aware, there are plans to make resetting possible for in-game currency, but who knows when and if that will actually happen. The final topic for this video can be found by pressing the L key to bring up the skills page. Inside this page are two tabs: action skills, which are skills that you complete an action to do, like gathering, fighting, resting, or riding, and profession skills, which are things like alchemy, cooking, weapon crafting, and even zoology. Each of the two tabs have their own skill points, level, and total points at the bottom, and all of these skills can be trained up to level 100. These differ from attribute points, like those found in the character page, in that they will only be applied to skills that are labeled as primary skills when you click them. Secondary skills do not consume these points, but are dependent and limited by their parent primary skill. For example, inside the alchemy skill dropdown, you have alchemy contraptions, which is also a primary skill, and even further down, you have fabricula expertise, which is a secondary stat. Fabricula expertise will not consume points, but will be limited by how high your skill in both alchemy and alchemy contraptions are, since they are the primary parent stats. Primary skills in both tabs, if selected, will have two buttons. The first is the Remove One Level button, which allows you to deduct a point from that skill and place it back in your pool of points. There is also the now familiar plus/minus lock button that allows you to designate which known skills you want your points to go into, or be taken away from, or locked and limited from continuing. Similar to the character page attribute points, this gives the player many options and a way to re-specialize into anything that they want at the cost of grinding experience and some time. We will look further into the skills tab in a later tutorial, but that should give you a basic understanding of what you're looking at and how to manipulate your attribute and skill points to try out different aspects of the game. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope I was able to answer some of the early questions you may have, as I know a lot of this information can be overwhelming for new players, but with time you will master these things and be able to bend Mirland to your will. See you in the next one.